Hi, welcome to MyS webinar for level 4 to 5, describing a film. My name is Terry. I'm from the United States, from Seattle, and I'm co-teaching today with Paul. Would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello guys. My name is Paul and I am from Ireland, and me and Terry both teach in Florence in my English school in Via Baracca, and we're here today to basically talk about movies. So hello Michele de Martis, we have a student, Terry. Yay.
Yay! We're just getting started, so welcome. You're right on time. So as people arrive, please tell us your name and where you're joining us from.
I will
So,
type that.
all right. Thank you, Paul. All right, so today, describing a film. You can't complain. I can, but I won't. Wait, what happened?
The screen came off. Just put it back
Okay,
on,
yes,
and then
yes, it did. I apologize. I clicked the wrong button.
oh
All
no.
right. So, starting off on a really great note there. All right.
Yeah.
So today, describing a film, describing details of a film, favorite film genres. That's genre, like from the French, and asking questions about films.
Yep.
So that's not how I watch movies. Is that how you watch movies, Paul, with your cat and a blanket and the remote?
It depends on the movie. If it is a horror movie, I get very, very scared. So that is what we call theme. Is that the correct word, Terry? Theme, yes?
That's the correct word for that is genre.
Genre, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, it's the correct genre. So horror is my example. So
I watched a horror film last night, and it's new, and my boyfriend really loved it, and I found myself laughing, which is not the reaction you expect from a horror film.
Okay, interesting. What question was it, Terry? Before you speak, my question is just to our audience to tell us some examples of genres. That could be a task. So one example is horror. So guys, give examples, please, of movie genres. That would be great. And Terry, what was the movie that you watched, please?
It was called Heredity.
Okay.
It's a new horror film, so it's not difficult to scare me, but if a movie is too predictable, then I don't find it very scary. So, but I do have a favorite horror film, and that is The Shining. Have you seen The Shining?
No, I haven't seen The Shining. And wow. Hey, Pepe, nice to meet you. So what is The Shining, Pepe? Excuse me, Terry. What is The Shining? Not Pepe.
The Shining. The
Pindana.
Shining is a horror film,
Okay.
which is set in a very large, old hotel in the mountains of Colorado. And a family goes there to live, and the father slowly becomes crazy. It's one of the scariest movies I have ever seen.
Okay.
But it's my favorite horror film. Do you have a favorite film, Paul?
Annabelle. If we're talking about horror movies, Annabelle the doll, I find that very, very scary. Perhaps Terry, you could tell us a little bit about Annabelle because it's from America, please. Or are you familiar to the story?
I am not familiar with the story.
Okay.
Can you tell us about it?
It's basically about a doll. How could I tell what's a doll, Terry, in Italian if they don't know? Muñeca, I think is Spanish. I'm not sure what it is
Bambola.
in. Okay, so
Bambola.
it's about,
Bambola.
yeah, it's about a doll that basically is possessed by the devil, and people say that if you go to the house where the doll is, lots of bad things basically happen to you. So it's called Annabelle. Perhaps people know about the movie. So Michele or Pe Adamo, can you? Oh, Pepe, yes, Pepe, short for Pe. Can you tell us? Did you see any horror movies?
Have you seen any horror films, or what is your favorite genre or your favorite movie? So, here are some good questions for you. So, as Paul and I continue to talk and give you examples of how you can phrase your answers, here are some questions for you. So,
Hmm.
and film is the European way to say this, whereas Americans would more often say movie.
Okay.
In England, you would probably hear what did you like the film? Whereas in America, you would hear did you like the movie?
Cool. I didn't know that.
So I didn't know that until about 2 months ago.
Ah,
So, Paul, is Annabelle your favorite film or just your favorite horror film?
Annabelle is my favorite horror movie, but if I talk about my favorite movie, it is Life is Beautiful. It was made by it was an Italian movie. I love that movie, so it was my favorite. La vita è bella.
So we have some other horror film fans.
Oh
Michele
wow.
really likes The Conjuring, and
Yeah,
Pe,
The Conjuring.
Pe is a fan of Dario Argento. Do you know Dario Argento, Paul?
No, I don't. Can you tell me who he is, please?
He is a director, and his films are the the bloodiest splatter films of all time.
Hmm. Interesting.
I think Quentin Tarantino took some notes. I think he learned something from Dario Argento.
Cool. That name sounds very, very familiar as well.
It does. So deep red. Okay. All right. So, Paul, why do you like Life is Beautiful?
Hope. Hope.
Because it has a message of hope.
I think now more than ever, it's certainly a fantastic movie to watch. Everybody's trapped inside, and there's a happy ending. So I guess it's relevant to what's happening at the moment. Do you agree? Yes or no?
While the circumstances are incredibly different,
Yeah.
I have to agree with you. I think right
Hmm.
now a message of hope is really one of the most important things because we have to stay positive. If we're going to be inside by ourselves or with only one or two other people for all of this, for a few weeks, maybe even a month, it's really important to maintain hope and to be positive. So yeah, I do agree with you, Paul.
Thank you. Uh, uh, we have a question for you, Terry. Can you respond, please?
Absolutely. Deep red, profondo rosso. The direct translation would absolutely be profondo rosso, Pep. But
Hmm.
if you're talking about a specific film, I can't say positively because something that I have learned in my time here in Italy is that not only do they translate the language of the film, but they never directly translate the title, almost never directly translate the title. They like to give it a title that seems to be more meaningful.
Hmm.
And so I can't say positively if that is what the title would be, But it is a perfect direct translation, I can say that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes the problem with movies is I don't think they should translate the title. I think they should leave the title as it is. Like La Vita è Bella for me sounds more beautiful than Life is Beautiful. I remember when I was living in Spain, everything became translated, and that is a problem. For example, in the south of Spain, they pronounce Netflix as Netflix. They don't even pronounce the X properly. And I don't know if it's the same in Italian, but maybe some English words should be left the way they are. I don't know. Maybe you agree to disagree, but maybe Pepe agrees with me, or maybe he agrees with Terry. I don't know. I just think names should be left. I watched La Vita è Bella, but I didn't create English.
Well, in part, I agree, but at the same time, especially because there are so many false friends between English and Italian, you could create some incredible confusion if you left some of the titles the way they are.
Okay.
So,
That's an interesting point. Just to clarify from Michele. So Michele, you like horror movies because I like to experience, or I like experiences. And please don't forget your capital I. Work on your punctuation, but very good. I like to experience adrenaline, or I like experiencing adrenaline movies. Great job. Excellent.
or I like the experience of, or the feeling of adrenaline.
Absolutely.
All right, so here we have some movie genres. We have fantasy, romance, action, comedy, animation, musical, horror, and science fiction. What other genres can you think of? Waiting for your answers over here in the comments. So what other genres?
I can't think of any myself.
Well, what genre would you say is Star Wars?
Sci-fi, science fiction, fantasy, thriller, maybe.
Okay, so we have thriller, we have fantasy, we have science fiction. What genre would you say Titanic is?
Oh, I love Titanic. Romantic.
Romance, but also dramatic.
For sure.
So we have drama, we have romance. I don't know if it exists, the genre smart comedy. What is a smart comedy? I don't know. So we do, sometimes in English, we like to combine things. So for example, if there was something that was a romantic comedy, we would call it a rom-com, at least in America. Or if there's a movie that's really intense, a lot of drama, but also a lot of comedy, we often call that a dramedy.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that either.
American film genres. We like to make things simple. So do you have any you want to add?
No, I just checked smart comedy and it just comes up like maybe comedians doing a performance on stage. So I don't know if it would count as a movie genre, but it is something you can watch, for example, like smart comedy, something live on. I'm thinking maybe famous actors, Eddie Murphy, for example, who is outstandingly funny.
I got some ice cream, and you don't got none. Yeah,
he's a wonderful comedian, and also if I was to talk about another American actor, Robin Williams, he's outstanding. Yeah.
Ah, there you are.
Yeah, sorry. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
No, I didn't hear any of the last of what you just said.
Sorry, I just said I'm a big fan of Robin Williams, and I think he's a great actor as well. Robin Williams as a smart comedian, basically.
He's fabulous, and what a human being.
Oh, yeah.
He will be missed. So Pei says, like Woody Allen movies. Exactly. So dramedies or rom-com,
We also have
psychological
psychological.
films. So psychological films we usually put into the category of thrillers. It's a psychological thriller. It's got a lot of suspense. Excellent. So I want you all to be thinking of what your favorite film genre is, and maybe a title of your favorite film. But now we're going to talk a little bit more about films in general. So if I say it takes place in, can you think of two different elements that I can use with this phrase? It takes place in.
Do you think maybe our audience understands the meaning of it takes place, Terry?
It happens.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Yeah, so equals it happens.
Okay. So if it happens, if it takes place, we have two different elements that we can talk about. What are they? I'll give you a little clue. This webinar is taking place in my home and in Paul's home. This webinar is taking place in my home and Paul's home.
There's a movie, Braveheart. It's a movie. Have you seen the movie Braveheart, Terry?
I have. It's one of my favorites.
Bit unrealistic, but it's okay. So yeah, just another example of Braveheart takes place in Ireland. That's all.
Good. Good. So location or place. What's the second one? The second element. So this webinar is taking place in 2020. This webinar is taking place in 2020 or 2020. So Braveheart takes place in, do you have any idea what year?
I'm not so sure. I think in the 1990s, but I should know. Can I check on Google?
Not what year it was made, what year it takes place.
It takes place. Let me check.
Exactly, Michele, the time. So takes place in a time and place.
Very good.
So yeah, I don't remember what year specifically Braveheart was set.
I think it'll say 1995.
Not made, but set. So when did Richard the Lionheart actually live? When did William Wallace live? It was set during the time of his life. So 1500s? 1600s? I don't know. Okay, so here are, whoops, sorry, fast fingers.
It's okay.
Here are some questions about films. So all of you out there, what we want you to do is think about a film that you really like. Give us the title. Tell us where and when it takes place, who the main actors are, and who the director is. So, Paul,
Yeah.
your favorite movie, La Vita è Bella, Life is Beautiful. Where does it take place?
Oh God, I hope I'm correct here with my information. It takes place, I think, in Poland. I don't know. I can't remember the exact town. It takes place in the Holocaust. It talks. The main actor is Roberto Benigni. And I enjoy the movie because the acting is fantastic, and also we know that the Holocaust has a terrible history, but in an incredible way, the movie works because it's somehow funny. So that is basically my interpretation of my movie. And we have another student, Terry. Look, Tatiana.
Tatiana, welcome. Where are you joining us from? Good
And Terry,
afternoon.
I have a vocabulary question for you. Can you
Yeah.
describe the meaning of the main stars? What is the main star?
So in a film, there are a lot of actors. There are a lot of actors and there are a lot of extras, people who never say a word.
Mm.
The main actors are the primary people, the protagonist, the antagonist. From Trieste, welcome. So it's the principal people who do the majority of the speaking.
Okay, thank you very much for telling me that.
Not a problem. So,
What about you, Terry?
La Vita è Bella takes place in Rome. Thank you, Michele. All
Terry,
right.
what about your favorite movie? I gave mine.
Gosh. One of my favorite films is The Lord of the Rings. It's the trilogy,
Oh,
but
yes.
I love it because I read the books when I was a young child, and when the movies came out, I couldn't wait to see them. It takes place in a fantasy land because it's based on the books by J.R.R. Tolkien, and it takes place in Middle Earth. And it takes place in a time, I can't really say what year because it's fantasy, but it's very ancient times. The main actors are, well, the main actor, Orlando Bloom, Liv Tyler, Viggo Mortensen. It's
Ian
got a
McKellen.
cast of people that's amazing.
Ian McKellen as well. It was fantastic as Gandalf
Also,
and
also
Saruman.
fantastic. And the director,
Peter Jackson?
Peter Jackson.
Don't worry.
It was out here. It was like, so
Were the movies similar to the books? Sorry for intruding.
oh no, the movies.
Were they a good representation?
They really were. They really were. They did a really great job of capturing the essence of the books, I think.
Okay. And The Hobbit?
I love The Hobbits.
The movie, no, for me.
The movie. No, I'm thinking of the Lord of the Rings series. I loved The Hobbits and the Lord of the Rings series. The book The Hobbit was really entertaining, but it was not quite as intense.
Agreed.
As the Lord of the Rings, and so even this also came through in the movie, I think. So main actors are Robert Benini and Nicoletta Braschi, while the director is Vittorio Cecchigori. Thank you, Michele. All right, so Pei says, I really like the movie He Got Game. Isn't it He's Got Game?
Maybe.
The director is Spike Lee, and it takes place in Coney Island, and the main actor is a true basketball player. Very interesting and excellent structure. Thank you.
Very good, yeah. Brilliant. He was in my lesson today.
Go ahead.
We had him today, and I had him with Christine this morning in one of our lessons, so it was nice.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us again, and still looking for some feedback from others who have joined. Tell us what your favorite film is, or any film, maybe a film you don't like, and answer these questions. So what genre of film is Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings would be, I would say, fantasy.
I would say fantasy. Michele, very good. The movie is made by Vittorio
Good job.
Cecchigori. Something that's interesting when we talk about a film, we do use the present tense. For example, when Michele said the actors are, the director is. But when we're talking about a film, when we're using narrative voice, we can use that present simple.
Mm-hmm.
But I would almost say that, and correct me if you feel differently, Paul, I would almost say that if we say the movie, just this alone, the movie is made by, I would say the movie was
Yeah.
made by.
I think it's better to say was made because it's done.
The making of the movie is finished.
Yeah.
And then the reason that we would use the present simple for this, main actors are, is because the movie exists and we talk about the movie like we talk about a book. And in that narrative sense, we're using the present simple because I can watch the movie now and tell you, the main actors are.
Exactly.
Okay. Yay, I wasn't wrong. Now, Pei says he thinks that Vittorio Cecchigori is the producer. Perhaps he was the producer and the director? All right, excellent. They're correcting each other. I love it. All right. So now we're going to begin talking about the story itself. Paul, the question is, what is the plot? But first, what's a plot?
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the plot is like the essential things that happen in a movie, like the key part or the story, basically.
Okay, so the plot is more like the
Yeah.
storyline.
Just the story.
Fabulous.
What's the
All
story,
right.
Terry, of Lord of the Rings? And if you
Oh,
can kind of give a little summary, like what is the main story?
so the main story is that eons before the story takes place, a ring was created, that several rings were created. Some were given to elves, some to men, some to dwarves. And then there was one ring that was made to control all of the rings. And so men being what they are, they began to fight over the rings because the significance of the rings is power. And then the one ring controlled everything. So the ring was lost for generations. And the story of the Lord of the Rings is the quest to destroy the ring. And in this way, will also destroy man's thirst, man's lust, man's desire for the ring that can control all men.
Oh, interesting.
Brief
Nice.
enough?
Thank you. You answered my question. Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler.
I didn't say if they succeed or not. The quest is to destroy the ring.
Terry, in movies, do you prefer happy endings or sad endings?
It depends on the movie. I can't remember the name. I saw a movie years ago, and in the end, the main character died. But he needed to die, and it was truly a tragedy. And it was heartbreaking, literally just like crushing the heart. But it was essential because if he hadn't died, the story would have ended in a way that was like, "Meh." So, and sometimes when there is a miraculous recovery, that it's very uplifting, and I appreciate that as well. How about you? Which do you prefer?
I prefer sad endings. I don't know why. I think they make the movies more I don't know. They make them more enjoyable to watch. If I was to say my favorite movie of all time, it's the movie called Brooklyn. I don't know if you've seen the movie, Terry. It's about an Irish girl who lives in Boston, and it talks about emigration. And I don't want to spoil it, but there's a lot of good and evil, as Michele has just said. In it's a book based on a movie, or a movie based on a book, excuse me. And it's a really, really brilliant movie, and it kind of talks about why many Irish people went to America, especially in New York, Brooklyn, because it has a lot of history.
Have you noticed the trend? It's a repeating theme in all sorts of movies, this battle between good and evil. So
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars, epic battle between good and evil. Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
We could probably, if we began, we could probably all name off just 100 in a very short time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like man's internal struggle between good and evil.
Agreed.
All right. So I don't want to give you any spoilers. What is a spoiler? You used that word before. What is a spoiler?
Spoiler is just telling. I think it's a word that we use. It's like an international word. I know that in Spanish they say spoiler as well. I think it's like saying exactly what happens.
So it's to tell important parts
Yeah, of a movie.
or the ending.
Exactly.
I hate when people do that.
We all do.
So when I watch a movie with my boyfriend, if he has seen it before, he won't say anything, but as something's about to happen, he starts looking at me more.
Yeah. Like
For
this is
my
it.
reaction to that in itself is a spoiler. It's like, oh, something important's coming, something important's coming. Why do you do that to me? Why do you do that? All right, so I think we can safely talk. Good point, Michele, an excellent structure. Good
Mm-hmm.
point and fabulous structure. The yin and the yang, the light and the dark, all the movies are made between good and evil, antagonist and protagonist. So I think we can safely talk about Titanic at this point. I believe everyone in the world has seen it. So can you remember where and when it is set?
Titanic was set when the ship was leaving on the west coast of Ireland, and it was basically a ship that was going directly towards America. And on the ship, you had a division of 3 classes, which was really, really interesting. First class, generally speaking, would be the English, of course, or the British at the time. The second class, and of course the third class, which was the Irish or any immigrants. So we were the bottom. And obviously any movie, unfortunately, is always any historical events. There's always a love story behind it, kind of similar to Pearl Harbor. Perhaps maybe the 2 of the movies could focus more on the tragic event instead of a love story, but that's Hollywood for you, and that's how people make their money.
You're right. I feel the same. All right. So, who were the main actors?
The main actors were Leonardo DiCaprio, who plays an Irishman, surprisingly, in the movie, and Kate Winslet, who comes from a rich British family, and against all the odds, they fall in love. And it was basically frowned upon. How could I say that in Italian? Like when people judged, like You know,
Ah,
like deception, basically. Because
well,
when no, speak please.
do you mean that the relationship between the
Yeah,
rich woman and the poor man
yeah,
was
judged
it
badly.
it was not seen well. It was
Yeah,
inappropriate.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
because of the first and third class. Um,
I agree, Michele. Silly Jack. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So who was the director?
that was a spoiler, Michele. That was a spoiler.
That's a
Um,
spoiler. That's a big spoiler.
yeah, Cameron
Why didn't
Jackson.
why didn't he just get on the door with Rose?
We don't know.
I don't anyway, because then it wouldn't be a Hollywood ending.
No,
You wouldn't have Rose standing on the bow of the boat to throw the heart of the sea back into the sea.
I think she played a fantastic role in the movie, though. I thought she did the movie very, very well. Um, I don't know. I thought she was really, really, she played a really good part, in my opinion. Kate Winslet.
So who was the director?
Peter, no, Cameron. He was the
Cameron.
director. He was the director of Avatar. Can someone help us?
Cameron, something.
Peter
James
Cameron, I
Cameron.
think.
Peter. James? I think it's one of
Okay.
the apostles.
Yeah, he's one of the main actors. Director of.
James Cameron, right?
Yeah, James Cameron. Thank you so much, Terry.
All
Yeah.
right. So I think we've talked a lot about the plot, and thank you, Michele. What happens in the end? Michele told us directly what happens in the end.
I cry. I cry. Actually, if
Now,
we could
here's
give
a
our
really
audience, oh, sorry, if we could give our audience just relation to that type of moment, is cheesy, me watching.
cheesy. What a great word. Another word to describe a film. Now, can you tell us, can you describe cheesy? Because that's really an interesting word.
Just when you're like, oh, please stop. That's it. Like kind of get a grip, or Paul, stop overreacting.
Overreacting and overacting,
Yeah,
exactly.
cheesy.
But we don't use cheesy only for films, do we?
No, we use it in context as well. Like it could be romance, and you could be told that you're cheesy. Like Terry, you have a voice of you should be doing a documentary on National Geographic, and people would say, Paul, please, you're being so cheesy. Just stop. You're being too
Like
much, basically.
like an
Yeah,
exaggeration. Okay,
yeah.
great. So just brought up another word on here,
Mm,
soundtrack. So I didn't like Titanic so much, but I loved the soundtrack.
mm,
Can you think of any movies that maybe the movie wasn't so great, but you couldn't wait to hear the soundtrack again? And this is a question for all of you. If I
mm.
ask you a question and you have an answer, please send us the answer on the chat. We would love to hear your answers. Exactly, Michele. It was Celine Dion that sang the title song, but not just that song. The entire soundtrack to that movie
Mm.
was really wonderful.
If I was to think of one example, it's Forrest Gump. It's the soundtrack and the music is outstanding. I've downloaded the music on Spotify actually, and they have got some wonderful songs.
Also, Good Morning Vietnam.
Oh, that's a movie I need to watch, especially now more than ever. It's something that I'm excited about watching online.
It's a great movie and it has a great soundtrack. But I also loved Forrest Gump.
Mm,
I absolutely loved the film. I've seen it 4 or 5 times.
mm.
but also I think that the soundtrack also keeps you moving. So everyone out there, what's your favorite movie soundtrack? Share with us. Now, how about special effects? What special effects do you remember from Titanic?
The boat when it goes up and then it collapses. What is the name of that again, Terry? When the boat it goes up in the air and then it sinks?
It sinks. It sinks. It goes under the water.
Why does the boat go up? Capsize, basically.
No, capsize is when it turns completely upside down like this. The reason that the boat goes up like this before it goes down is because the water started entering in the middle. And so the air was, by the force of the water, the air was pushed to the ends. And so the air rises. And then as the water filled the boat, it went down. But the Titanic's soundtrack, I'm sorry, Michele, I'm not understanding exactly what you mean.
Pesky.
So if I say pesky, it means that it annoys me. It's pesky.
I've never heard of that word. I've never heard of that word.
Would you say
to pesker? Okay. Or pester, no? To pester. Excuse me.
To pester is to bother, to annoy.
Yeah.
Dare fastidio. But can you help us, Michele? We really want to understand exactly what you mean. Okay, so special effects. What other films can you think of with amazing special effects?
I was thinking.
It became. I understand. It became bothersome, or what did you say? Pesty?
Pesky, no?
Did you say? But you said it in British English. It would be pesty.
I would just say annoying, just to play it safe. Annoying or bothering or bothersome, as you said. Frustrating over time, depending on how you would describe the adjective.
All right.
Yeah, perfect, Terry.
All right. So special effects.
I think Star Wars for me. Even the old Star Wars for people. Oh, Jurassic Park was when I was younger, like the excitement of watching dinosaurs, and even the first one is still fantastic, the movie.
It is. It's still fun to watch.
It brings back so many memories. I remember when I was younger, and I used to get very, very excited because, like, when we had Kellogg's cereal, like Cocoa Pops or Corn Flakes or Rice Krispies, and we would buy like the cereal boxes and then like hope that there's like a dinosaur. Although now I don't think that's allowed, because in case you eat the cereal and you swallow, I think maybe now they're not allowed to put toys in cereals. But do you think? They've obviously changed, but back then in Ireland, like everything was in a cereal box, and it was just amazing. Like there's so much value in something so small.
It was, and now they put them in plastic or paper containers so that they're big, so that they can't be eaten. Yeah. The world's a changing place.
The 90s was the best generation of all time. And for me, the best movies, the best decade. Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, fabulous.
The Green Mile. I'm only thinking now of Tom Cruise. Or no, I'm not. Of what's his name? What's the actor's name? Not Tom Cruise.
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks, yeah. But the 90s are, for me, the best time for the movies, in my opinion.
Well, but Tom Hanks wasn't in Shawshank Redemption.
No, but he was in The Green Mile. I'm confusing my movies now.
Okay. Well, let's unconfuse this vocabulary, shall we?
Yes.
We've got some vocabulary words and their definitions. So While Paul and I read the words and definitions, we want you to begin matching them up. So on the chat, go ahead and just send us the
The
word
answers.
and its description. So I'll read the vocabulary if you'll read the descriptions.
Perfect.
So we have title, genre, setting, soundtrack, director, and plot.
Okay, we have the story of the film, the music of the film, when and where the film takes place, the person who makes the film, the type of film, and the name of the film.
Okay, so we will begin going very slowly through these and looking for your comments. So, the title of the film. The title of the film. Well, that's like any other title of a book. So I would say that's going to be the name of the film.
Absolutely.
How about genre, Paul?
The genre is title, the name of the film. Very good. Genre, if anybody doesn't know, if you think of genre, you have horror, you have thriller, romantic, fantasy. Just give them another 20 seconds to see if they know.
Romance, tragedy.
Okay, so the genre basically is the type of film.
Okay.
Very
Exactly.
good.
Very good, Tatiana. Very good. So just so that you know, there is a lag, a pause. There's about 30 seconds from when you send your comment before it arrives to us. Okay? So the setting. Can anyone tell us the setting? So Titanic was set in the 1920s. It was set on a boat that was going from Ireland to America. The setting. Setting is the noun. It was set, it is set, is the verb. So,
it is where the film takes place.
When and where exactly? Would you take the next one?
Yeah, so guys, the soundtrack is basically what you hear at the end of the movie or throughout the movie as well. Throughout is like at different stages. And it's My Heart Will Go On is the soundtrack of Titanic, if we could think of one. Or the soundtrack of The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring is sung by Enya, and it's called Let It Be. It's a beautiful song as well. Enya is an Irish woman who's a Celtic singer. Yeah, so the soundtrack is the music of the film. And Terry, what about the director?
Well, the director. Oh, wow, Tatiana, you are on fire. You're getting to it before we can.
It's great. We want that.
So the director not only he makes the film, but he tells the actors what to do and how to do it better. He watches from all different angles to make sure that when the audience sees the new film, we see it from an angle that lets us truly see what is happening, what he wants us to see.
Exactly.
So
that is basically it. And finally, the plot. The plot is, essentially the main parts of the movie. Exactly. She's so incredible today. Or he or she, I'm not sure. I think it's a girl, right? Tatiana.
I'm sure it's a girl.
Yeah. Okay. Just I don't know from my names, excuse me. Yeah, that's the plot of the movie. And yeah, guys, that's basically everything from today. Like, remember the meaning of take place is happen. So I'll let Terry close off. Thank you so much for participating, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody. It's been a real pleasure. So join us again. What level do we have after this, Paul?
It's 4 to 5 ordering drinks, and it's relevant to St. Patrick's Day.
So
we're here.
if you want to stay with us, in about 10 minutes, we will be together again. And the topic is ordering drinks. I think that's something we're all probably thinking a little bit more about these days. But for now, thank you for joining us. Stay safe and stay positive.
Thanks, guys. Good job.